Welcome to Your 2 Cents, the podcast. I'm Alicia Mccarvell.
And I'm Sylvia Beirnes, and this podcast is made in partnership with the credit unions because they are just as obsessed with talking about money as we are.
Today, you're going to hear from Alicia Simms and her partner Tyson about how they've broken free from traditional style of living and now are traveling the world in a 25-foot Airstream, which seemed outrageous to me at the beginning of this conversation, but it has been so cool. In 2021, they sold their 2,400 square foot home. Now they've got to pack their stuff in a garage when they travel the world. So
it's really crazy, but it's super cool. So we're going to talk to Alicia and Tyson about the financial side of this big life change and designing a way of life that works for them and their wallets and giving them the financial freedom to do so much more with their lives.
This is Your 2 Cents, the podcast proudly made by Bicoastal in partnership with credit unions.
Cost of living getting more and more expensive by the minute, people are rethinking how and where they live to get the most out of their budget.
Our guests today are entrepreneurs who sold their 2,400 square foot house and took to living life on the road in a 25-foot Airstream trailer. We're gonna dig into how Alicia and Tyson and this choice has given them more freedom in life, but also in their budget. And while living mobile might not be for everybody, we think that their experiences will help people think creatively when it comes to their budget and travel and seeing the world and doing it all from an Airstream.
Okay, I need to start from the start because from my understanding, you are not someone who was dreaming of this lifestyle for yourself. So can you take us to how you even got here today?
Just hearing you smile is hilarious. I think the number one question that he gets is, how did you get her to do that? Yeah, I definitely was not an outdoors person at all. Camping, not my forte. Had a very nice, comfortable 2,400 square foot house. And then along came Tyson, who randomly talked about how his plan before he met me was that he was going to buy a small trailer and just live his bachelor life on the road. That's not what happened. But as we were together, we started talking more. I was like, I wouldn't be opposed to that. And then we got an opportunity to have an RV for a couple of months. And we're like, okay, this is how we figure out if this would work. He dreamed of downsizing to like a tiny home. I like stuff. So
Same. I'm thinking about my 2,400 square feet right now and downgrading that. And
exactly. It's been a journey. So we got a 24-foot RV, which we had for a couple of months and toured around. And it was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I can do this. There was a lot of storage.
You were surprised by how much storage there was.
I really was surprised. It's more than you think. They really make use of every nook and cranny in those things.
Pack rat friendly.
Yeah, we did realize that we didn't want to do an RV though because it's harder to get anywhere going into small towns on the East Coast. It's hard to pull in a giant RV, and it is loud. It's really squeaky in the cabin while you're driving. It's nice though that you can just get out of the seat and go right into where you're going. But we decided to visit the Airstream idea, which is what Tyson had originally wanted, and they're just gorgeous. So we started pouring through those to find what would be the right fit for us.
What's been the biggest challenge for you going from 2,400 square feet to an Airstream?
The shoulder seasons. So once you go from summer into fall and winter, summer, no problem. All your clothes is small. You don't need boots. You don't have, but when you need sweaters and coats and boots, because we like to accessorize,
yes.
that's really hard. You have not a lot of place to put it. So even though there is a lot of storage, when you have big bulky sweaters and boots, and I love my fall boots and your coats and hats and stuff. That's the hardest part is the switching of the seasons. So overall the space that you don't have once it's not summer clothes.
No porch. There's no mudroom.
Large.
No big closet for a lot of puffy jackets.
Yeah.
So where do you keep your stuff in the off season? So when you're switching over, fall for me is you're dressed for a million different things.
Yeah.
I'm picturing,
especially
where's your stuff?
On the East Coast. I feel like one day's hot, the next day is cold, and
that's very true. Now, it's what do we plan for? It's 20 degrees in the morning, it's 45 in the afternoon.
And randomly raining.
Totally.
We decided to buy land that we built a garage on. So we spent 8 months living in the trailer on my sister's property, and we bought land and built a garage because ultimately when we were doing research on winterizing, that wasn't going to work, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, if you want to live in your trailer in the winter, go south.
This is not the place to do
Just
that.
go to Arizona, go to Florida, wherever you want to go, but don't be here.
So we built, Tyson designed and built a garage on our land, and then we could winterize in that. And we built a lovely little room at the back, which is our storage. So I have a full closet set up in there where all of our overflow is basically. And that gives us a little more living space. Like I paint, so I have a little art studio set up out there. Our dog loves the space that she's out there. You've got your tools to.
Yep, there's the workshop there. Really, we kind of have it designed so the trailer is like a modular part of the house where you just hitch up your kitchen, bedroom, and little office and take that out of your house and away you go on an adventure. But then you can leave all the extra stuff like the tools in my workshop and all the extra clothes that we have in vacuum bags sealed away for different seasons.
That's really cool.
Obviously, we're talking budget, we're talking the freedom that it gave you, but it's obviously an investment to purchase an Airstream. And obviously, by the sounds of things, building a separate like space to store your clothes. But can you explain a little bit of like the investment, the cost, like what you've put into the Airstream, and then having that safe space for that little
Hurricanes.
bit of extra? Yeah.
Really, we could have probably bought a really nice condo for the same amount of money and still had no mortgage. But we went this route, and you end up at low six figures somewhere for your trailer. We used the truck we already had, which will be replaced eventually. And
That's going to be our
more-
biggest expense.
That's really
yeah.
more vehicle than we would want to buy
Yeah.
if we didn't have to meet a certain benchmark to pull the trailer.
Yeah.
So there's lots of trade-offs that way. For us, it was about minimizing the monthly expenses. So getting down to just a little bit of electricity and then having our own land for water and septic and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, so on a whole, we're not paying campsites unless we're going traveling, which we will do. But we also have the ability to boondock, which means we bought a solar battery and we have a tank on the Airstream that we fill with water. So we can go and find crown land or places that aren't necessarily service sites for like a really more quiet, unique experience.
That's really cool. How did you learn about all of these things? You're blowing my mind. I'm like, I wouldn't have ever even thought about solar power or any of that kind of stuff.
I pipelined for quite a few years, and to try and save money, I lived at a campground with a friend of mine, and basically he was in a big tent, which was like our kitchen and everything, and I was in my truck for the most part. So trying to make
In the back of his truck. He made
that was the bedroom, yeah.
an apartment in the back of his truck for 5 months. He lived by crawling in a mattress in the back of his truck with a little kettle and a heater. And I was like, no, ma'am.
So you upside and you downside.
A little bit more.
Yeah, no.
a lot of that was just learning how to be a little bit more efficient and self-sustainable and that kind of thing, and translating that into being less crazy and involving someone who isn't as crazy as I am in that kind of plan.
Yeah, we really are on opposite ends of the spectrum and came to the middle with what we have right now. It's kind of funny. Like Tyson likes a healthy amount of struggle to see how little he can live with. And I'm like, I need a bare minimum of what I can have.
Okay, so that is like obviously navigating a relationship while making these changes. I'm going to assume that communication has been really key. I live in a 2,400 square foot and I butt heads with my husband. So if you're comfortable, like what has been the toughest part of upsizing for you from what you originally planned and downsizing for you? Like, has there been things you've compromised on that you didn't want to, or?
I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about this.
I would say the trailer itself was a compromise.
That's
because
true.
it was up to me, it would be 5 feet shorter than it is.
Okay.
And if it was
Okay.
up to her, it would be 5 feet
I
bigger than it is.
need everyone who's watching this to go Google a 16-foot base camp, because that's what he would have had, and then look at the 28-foot pottery barn. That's what we need to go, because
Which
that's
sounds bougie. I like a 28-foot pottery barn.
I know.
Sylvia. It's so beautiful. It's so expensive, but you're right. That was a compromise, because if we had gone to a 20 or a 23-foot trailer, you can tow that with a smaller vehicle, which again is going to be our biggest expense. But
I forget about that.
So when we looked at the 23, the way it's laid out differently is the dinette and the kitchen are in the middle. So there's this really narrow alleyway to go down to the bedroom or bathroom, whichever side. And when we measured it, it was exactly the width of me. And I was like, I don't want my saddlebags rubbing on the side of these things every time we go. So we
I will
decided
say,
to.
I took the initiative to
did.
reach out to random people to measure that for us, just to make sure, because we had to buy it during COVID, so there was nothing anywhere, so we were going off internet videos for the most part.
That's right. So yeah, you definitely did compromise on the size. I don't think I did as much, because while I would like a larger one, the 25-foot works for me. He is trying to talk me down to a 20 now, which is not going to happen, but I'm not losing that 5 feet of
not off the
space. That's right.
Well, and you raised such a good point with vehicles because I don't really know a lot about towing capacity. I've not towed anything in my life, but that is a huge thing. Like when you're moving up in cars are now more expensive than they've ever been either. Like the cost of everything is going up. So when you're talking about sort of your key purchases, do you want to just kind of summarize what those were? Like you get rid of your house, but then it sounds like land and all these other things. Like if you want to just kind of speak to that so that we get a clear picture of all of it, because car didn't even register to me.
No.
Well, it is, I mean, your expenses have definitely come down. Like we figured like a third of what we had. Like
Yeah, roughly.
we knew we wanted to travel and be mobile and mortgage free for a little while. Like we're living currently in what we call the year of Alicia because we don't know when we're going to build. So we said, well, if I'm doing this, I'm taking a trip every month this year. And I absolutely have, and it's been wonderful. And we can only do that because we cut our expenses down so much. So that is definitely the appeal to it, but there are still expenses depending on how you want to live. The truck definitely being the main one because it has to be in condition to tow. We didn't end up going anywhere yet this year because we needed to get the truck in and repaired and make sure it was roadworthy. Like we had planned, hopefully this winter we were going to leave in October and just go down through the States until maybe April, but because the truck is so old and even though it's in good condition, we thought maybe we'll wait till next year when we're ready to invest in a new truck, and then that's one thing we don't have to worry about. And lucky so far we haven't had a lot of things go wrong because the trailer's still
been
fairly
pretty good.
new. Yeah.
But that limited us to what size of trailer we wanted to get to use the vehicle we already had. Because if you go bigger, then you're looking at a new 2,500 or 3,500, probably a diesel, and there's $80,000 to $100,000 probably, which I don't want to spend.
Cars cost so much.
Oh, it's crazy.
And trucks
And they're
even
not,
more.
and they're not built to last either, which is very
So
frustrating.
even to buy our new truck, which we're budgeting for to get either late this year or early next year, that'll probably be $70,000 for just a half-ton diesel. And if we had got a smaller trailer, we probably could have got a mid-sized truck and saved $15,000. But
But then you'd have an unhappy wife that can't fit all her
well,
stuff in the
it's all
trailer.
about prioritizing what you
I
want,
mean, it's
right?
true.
But
Yeah.
I think what people get lost in with the idea of getting an RV and traveling and seeing the world is, yes, it's great to have all this space and take your home with you, but how much home do you want to take with you? Because all of that costs money pulling down the road, and the more weight you're pulling and the bigger vehicle you need is just money
gas.
that you're spending on fuel and the vehicle and the trailer in the first place that you're not spending when you get there to do all the activities you want to do.
Did you know that credit unions were the first financial institutions to ever lend to women in their own name? That they're obsessed with small business and their customers are actually members because they collectively own every branch? Credit unions are truly embedded into the communities they serve, and they love watching them thrive because they know when communities thrive, their members do too. So if you're into communities as much as credit unions are, you've just found your new place to bank. Credit unions are the proud sponsor of Your 2 Cents, the podcast.
It's really interesting. I don't think I thought about downsizing into that sort of space and then staying put. Like it sounds like you're actually, which is really cool. Like I just think it's like you're, to your point, you're putting in everything that you want. You can go take your, more local, maybe kind of road trips. So like, what's that sort of day to day look like living in an Airstream?
It's like living in a tin cabin, basically. Like
It's a tiny
if you had a
home when
little
we're
cottage,
stationary.
but
Yeah.
it was made of aluminum. That's
Yeah,
what you'd
like
be
we
in.
spent all day yesterday combing out 7 months of overflow that we don't need to take now while we tow. But like when you're not moving and it doesn't matter what's on the surfaces, like more and more stuff is making its way in. So I just took a tote and we just put overflow on it, like all the stuff off my desk that I don't need to take, some extra stuff from the kitchen, extra
The
blankets
winter
and
clothes
pillows.
that you had stuffed in some overhead bins that I didn't even realize
That would be me.
you
That's
had
how much
filled.
room you have. You're hiding clothes in there.
I took a photo of all of the clothes that I hauled out that was in the trailer at the time, and it was a surprising amount. We did notice that if we're stationary, it's like a tiny home, and then if you're moving, you live very differently. And I mean, you have to find the right trailer for you. Like you can buy the ones that have slides that give you like twice as much space. We ultimately decided we didn't want that. We wanted to go with the Airstream. They have a longer longevity, less costs, less maintenance on fixing like the motor or having any leaking from the slides that come out. So it really, like there are so many options. You really have to do your research.
Is there much setup and takedown for that? Like I grew up camping in like a tent
Pop
trailer.
top.
Yeah, pop top tent
Oh, yeah.
trailer that you took a solid 45 minutes to get like fully set up once you made it to the spot they were going. Is there much for the Airstream?
I think we have it down to a science now where we could probably pull in and be set up in 20 minutes or so.
I'd say a solid half hour, just depending on how level the campsite is, really.
Everything going in totes is really the key to being mobile, so that everything that goes on the counter goes in a tote, goes under a bench, so it's not all over the floor when you get where you're headed.
Oh, yeah.
It's also an organizer's dream. Totes are my life, so I appreciate this. I feel like that's a great transition for me to be like, great, I'll just take all my organized things and put them in another organized place.
There you go.
But so, okay, when we're talking about the overall setup, it sounds like it's still about a 6-figure investment, like by the time you kind of calculate a trailer, your truck to tow it. Then you were mentioning that you're sort of down to about a third of your costs. What are your monthly costs? Like, you don't have to speak in specific numbers, but what does that look like for you? And do you feel that you've accomplished what you're trying to get to in terms of like that savings that you're doing to plan for the next phase?
Oh man, I've been to 6 countries this year and we still have more trips. So yes, we have accomplished what we had hoped to do.
Yeah, I would say for utilities, it's about $100 a month in electricity.
Well, we have, just covering it, we have power, we have internet, and we
Yep.
have insurance.
Insurance is really our biggest cost.
I think that's it. Yeah.
So you insure the trailer and
the
car.
Between the trailer,
and
the
the,
vehicles, our life insurance.
garage.
Yeah.
We
And
call
the
it a
garage.
garage. It's our home
Garage.
garage.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And then fuel, obviously, on the road.
Yep.
But yeah, our base cost would be power, internet, and we have internet that we can take with us. And insurance. Insurance is definitely our biggest one.
And is that a big ticket item? Like, I would imagine it probably, is it equivalent to like rental insurance or homeowner's insurance? Like, what does that look like?
I think our insurance on our property is somewhere around $200 a month, and then the insurance on the trailer is, I think, $250 or something like that.
We did actually have trouble getting insurance for it here. Ironically, not like in Alberta where we were originally.
Land of expensive trailers.
I guess that's true. But here we did have a lot of trouble securing insurance for it. It was a bit wild. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
What has surprised you the most about living out of an Airstream? This is something you dreamed of. So
I never had that dream. I promise
what,
you.
What has surprised you the most of either living in an Airstream or of yourself living in an Airstream?
I feel anyone that knows me is still continually surprised I still live in it. I mean, it's only been a little over a year, so I guess it's not that long. I think the fact of how much I enjoy it was, I honestly think as a almost hoarder, everyone should have to move their life.
I can relate.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I feel you. I feel like everyone should have to move into 185 square just to actually see what you need, because I had stuff crammed in that house that I owned for 10 years that I forgot I even had there. Like when we were unpacking it, and I wish I could have shown one whole picture of everything we got rid of, like furniture I've been carrying around for 10 years or more. All of the stuff. Like I had a chocolate fountain in there I didn't even remember I had been in the basement for 10 years. But when you really see what you actually need on a daily basis, I'm really bad for, I don't know if you watch the Marie Kondo stuff, but
Yes.
like everything sparks joy for me.
Yes.
Right?
Things spark joy. I get it. Yeah.
100%. So once I had stuff packed away for the sale of the house, and then while we were living in the Airstream, I detached from it. So like stuff I thought I couldn't live without, I was like, well, you know, maybe I don't need 200 picture frames on the wall kind of thing. I mean, I didn't have that many, but you know, like it just, I found even now as we're going through boxes or clothes that I forgot was in there, it was like, I could probably pare down this. Like it's a really interesting human experiment to pack your life into something so small and see what you actually need to be happy.
Yeah,
Like
the need part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I thought I wanted to work to a 6-figure corporate job to live the life I wanted to live. It was like, I don't. I want to be able to travel. I want us to be able to take our trailer around, and that's pretty much it. Not worry about money, and that's what we've done. It's really an eye-opening experience, I have to say. And
Yeah, you're still very into fashion, of course, but I think you've become a lot more intentional with like the outfits you're getting and making sure everything is a little more versatile and
I'm
put
trying to
stuff
get
together.
into the capsule wardrobe.
That's
thing.
also saves money.
Yeah,
too.
100%.
That's also another
100%.
area.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everyone, but I love the simplicity. I have all the comforts that I need in the trailer. We haven't got there yet, but I love the idea when we can go for the winter and just live abroad. Like I can work abroad, he can work abroad. So we're really excited about the possibilities it opens us to when we're not tethered to a mortgage and costs here that we have to pay while we're gone. Like our costs here would be so minimal.
Basically, like turn the heat pump down a little bit just to maintain the garage and goodbye.
You also have a dog.
Yeah.
How does that work? I feel like you're in my brain. I'm picturing. I don't know if you saw the movie Spice World, but then they have the bus, and the bus looks gigantic, and then
That
like
is
that's
amazing.
actually
That's
a
so
set,
funny.
and that's not real life. So there's 2 of you and a dog.
Yeah. Our dog is pretty old, so we rescued her later in life. She was almost 6, and they told us like she's not really energetic, and we're like, I mean, that's great. We're on the go, but we don't need a dog that we've got to like do 20-kilometer walks a day. So we're lucky that she's pretty low key. Her bed is under the dinette. She stays in for the most part. She'll wander back and forth, and that's pretty much it. No, she loves garage life though. Like since we've opened it up and she has the garage with multiple beds, all about it.
Yeah, she's a little street dog, so I feel like it's like channeling memories of being a junkyard dog or something like that by being in the garage.
Going back to her roots.
Now, Tyson, this was your dream, your goal to have and live this way. Has it lived up to what you hoped it would be?
I think it has, yeah. It's been pretty much what I envisioned it to be. We haven't traveled as much as I had intended us to initially, but we've had a lot of stuff going on, and once we get the new truck, then that'll open that up, of course.
To go back to your question about struggling in a small space, so the only way we really struggle now is that he'll live like this forever. He is perfectly content. I have pockets of overwhelm, like I'm good for a while, and then I'm not for a little while, and then it goes back and forth. So that's the only place we really bump heads about it right now. Like, it's been hard to be in the garage, and like our land isn't developed, and it doesn't stop raining, so it's always muddy. And that's really frustrating right now. Like I'm looking forward to getting the trailer out and being on the go, whereas the longer we're in the garage on the land during the shoulder season of like getting into fall and the horrible spring and summer rain, that drives me because I want to be outdoors.
Yeah.
I want to have
Once
the space.
it's actually grass instead of
exactly.
only half
Once
developed.
I'll have little pockets where I'm like, we need to get this land developed so we can get outside and like have a barbecue and set up our hammock and things like that. And he's like,
I just want to be like, you know what? Just book a flight.
Are
Go
you
somewhere and come back
Are you
fresh.
an introvert?
Yes.
And are you an extrovert?
I'm an extroverted introvert.
Introvert? Okay.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
I'm good on some scenarios, but there's weird things that I'm like, no.
I think for me, entertaining like is something that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Do you do any entertaining in
Not
the
anymore.
Airstream? No.
Nope.
Okay.
That's been the hardest part
Yeah.
as well. Like my parents live in Newfoundland and they come up and visit 4 times a year. They used to spend half their time with my sister, who's also in our area, and half the time with me. And now we can't have them over. So when they come, I generally book a trip and then take them somewhere. So like this time when they were up in June, we went to the South Shore. We were down in Shelburne and we went to PEI the year before. So because I can't have them over, I'll try and do those. But yeah, it makes me sad when people come visit and we can't have them over. Like they'd sleep on our dinette, which is comfy, but the bathroom, the only bathroom,
bathroom?
is next to our bed.
I should
So
have led with that question. What's it
Yeah.
like to have one bathroom that's only so small?
if you're not comfortable with the person you're with, you cannot survive in a trailer
You're
because
gonna get comfortable real quick.
yeah. And I hope you don't have shy bowels because
Yeah.
you just hear things that no one
It's like,
should hear.
like we're in a 25-foot
There's no
trailer,
privacy.
and I'm telling her that we should get the 20-foot trailer because the bathroom and the bed are on the opposite sides. But she's like, well, that's still like 10 feet away.
Of an like
in an
ambient
aluminum
metal
can, yeah.
tube. Like it doesn't matter if it's here or there, it all echoes.
I think what I noticed from going, like Scott and I, my husband and I shared a 900 square feet, and we've shared like 650 square feet. But in our new place, like having 2,400 square feet, it has allowed me to like escape him on a whole other level, like of the house.
Literally.
Like we just never had that before. Like 650 square feet, I'm still looking at you while I'm upset with you.
Yeah.
So finding that 2,400 square feet of being able to like exit or find space too. So is there ways where you guys find ways to have your like alone time still while living in such a confined space? Like, do you go for walks or is it very much this is what it is right now and you don't kill each other while you're in the same room?
Well, we're fortunate that we don't really fight, or at least at this level.
Yeah.
But like if we have, it's so stupid. If we have like a tiff where it's like, I'm trying to get work done and he's home doing work.
Yeah.
And he is a habitual like tapper. And in
Oh,
the
yeah.
Airstream, I will be in the bedroom like this because he's rocking his legs in the front at the
I don't
dinette.
even realize I'm doing it.
I have to yell out to him, like, stop shaking your legs. So we have like a privacy curtain I'll pull across if it's like, I just need to not see you while I write this, or, you know, things like that. So it is difficult. I find it difficult if I know I have like, okay, I've set these 2 hours out, I need to get this writing done or this work done, and he's home too. It's like, no.
I find it's mostly just a matter of me putting the noise canceling headphones on and not giving commentary on everything I do or listen to.
And not tapping your feet so the whole
So
thing.
you
That's
find,
right.
you find those ways to manage that. Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There have been struggles, but nothing we haven't been able to get past at this this point.
Like if we were out on the road, it would just be a matter of heading out the door and going on a walk or something like that.
Yeah.
And when we're at home, there's my workshop, there's your paint studio setup you have, and then the workout space we have basically. So there's a couple different spots to be where it's not immediate visual contact.
Yeah, that's another hard thing about, I find. Like when we had the RV, we had enough space that you could like do yoga in the middle or something. We do not have that now. So I bring bands on the road and go for walks, but otherwise you have to do it outside the Airstream and just hope people aren't watching you, really. Yeah, so that's probably a big struggle, because like I like to exercise at home. That's definitely a hard thing to get used to if you have a routine with weights and things like that.
I have literally always been intrigued by tiny home living and living on the go and condensing my things, because it seems like almost nearly impossible. But this has been like an eye-opener for me. We've gained so much insight from Alicia and Tyson and what it has taken for them to basically live on the go.
It's really cool. I actually didn't expect to fall in love with this way of living so much, but it was this massive departure from a conventional way of life to financial freedom, but also just like the freedom to decide what their own unique path looks like, which I think is super exciting.
Yeah, there's so much more to uncover, so tune in next time when we're back with Alicia and Tyson.
This is Your 2 Cents, the podcast, proudly made with iHeart Radio and by Coastal in partnership with credit unions.